and welcome to Buckman's Model Mania. In this episode, I will be working on the Moomin House Pack 7, which I'm going to go ahead and open now. And it is working on more of the walls and a little bit more on the stove. I've got what I worked on in the last video sitting right here because I'm going to need some of those parts. We actually are going to expand on the rest of the first wall and more work on the stove. So let me get the parts out of the pack, get them set up where I can identify them, and I will be right back. Okay, so we've got parts A, B, C, F, L, G, another strip. The white parts here are part of a step ladder, and these are all parts of the stove. So the first thing we're going to do, and again, similar to last video, the longer parts go on the bottom, and the tabs or the slots here are going to go towards the outside. So the first thing it says to do is to take, let's see, parts A, B, and apply C to part 7. Hang on just a second. Okay, mark C. Okay, so there's 3 slots, 2 full slots, 1 half a slot, and that's where parts, the A's and B are going to go. So I'm going to go ahead and assemble that rather than fight with it like I did on the last video, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, so I've got all those parts together, and I've turned it over to where the notches are facing up, because the next thing that we do is we put part L in there, and the notches are going to line up with the notches here. We go ahead and apply some glue into each of the notches, and then we will attach it, which on the last one, instead we did this after we did the top rail. Top rail comes on later here because we're going to actually join this with the wall that we built in issue 6. So I'm going to get this in here. And yes, again, I did not bother to dry fit. But once everything is in there right, it squares it up. So at this point, we now put part F in here. Part F is going to go into this slot right there. There's a tab on either side. So let me apply some glue to the tab here. On both sides of the tab. And just because I'm going to put the F up, no rhyme or reason to it, just that's the way I'm doing it. And now I need to bring back this wall from last time. Notice there is a similar notch in it. And I'm going to apply, I was about to apply it to the notch. I'm going to apply it to the tab. And this should slide in here pretty easily. Just like that. And now you have a pretty significant piece of wall there. Not sure if it's actually going to fit back in the box very well. Take the assembled frame, apply glue to the other end of 5, which I just did, and apply glue to all the vertical tabs. So this piece here, and I'm going to do this off camera because this is probably going to be a little bit tricky, and I think this might be a dovetail. This might be a dovetail joint similar to what it was on part D in the last video. So I'm going to stop the camera and come back once this is done. Okay, so there's the finished wall. Managed to get it together. It was a little bit tricky, especially because this curved spot, I started putting it on this end. I had it on the wrong side at first. So let me see if I can get it back on here. And I'm only putting it back on here to square it up. I'm not gluing it at this point. It doesn't get glued in yet because we still got to put the actual covering for the wall on. This just will help to square it up while it's drying, if I can get these tabs down here to go in. So I'll be back in a second when I get that done. And there it is. You can see now what that first wall is going to look like. There's a doorway through it. It does say in the book that on issue 8 we will do this wall. But at this point we have the first wall framed out, and sometime in the near future I'm going to be drilling holes somewhere to run wires. I'm not sure where I'm going to put them. I know that I'm probably going to come from underneath. So it's going to be a really interesting undertaking. And you know, I just looked down and realized I did not put this strip right here, similar to the last one. It is a little bit thicker. Just making sure, yeah, it'll match up. So let me put the glue on the strip instead this time. That way I can't put the strip on backwards like I did. And we'll get this put onto the wall. And you start to see the actual size that the Moomin house is going to be when you've got this first wall framed out, because you can see how big around it's going to be already from the floor. With the wall framed out, you can see how tall each floor is going to be. That's going to be pretty tall. Matter of fact, just for giggles, not that one doesn't go on the end, all the way to the end, and this one, there we go. That one actually is a little shy of the end, so we'll put it to the side here. Each floor is roughly going to be 5 inches tall. So 3 floors, it's at least 15, closer to probably 20 to 25 with the roof. So it's actually going to be a significantly large build. So let me set this over here and get the parts for the stove. Okay, so these are all the parts of the stove. We've got the base that was we assembled last video. This one, this and the flue pipe were 2 videos ago. So the first thing that we do here is we're going to put stove top, which I'm actually pretty impressed by the little detail. I think that's kind of cool that they've got the burners themselves. And the stove top is going to push in just like that. But before we can glue anything, the flue, which I had stored it up inside here, the flue needs to go into that hole and in the hole right here. So let me go ahead and pop that in there. Actually, let me get that part back. And as you can hear, sorry for my big head, the parts of the stove are metal. So I've plugged that back in, and that's what I was trying to do, is plug that in there, bring this up here, and it should line up just like that. So you've got the flue running up inside the stove hood. It says to apply some quick drying glue. I think this is a call. I was gonna use the white glue, but I think this is a time for super glue. So let me put a little bit of that there. Get my glue pen. Put a little bit of glue around the top of the flue. Let me just double check and see if it has me gluing both. This is kind of interesting doing this one-handed. Hold the stove, fit the flue together, use a toothpick. It does not say to glue the stove top at this point. So it's got various parts. Okay, the flat part on one edge. These will actually go in there like that. So it says, I'm just reading through. It says to the contact points. So I'm going to call this right here a contact point. I'm going to drip some super glue in there so that it will hold. And I'm going to turn it over. I'm not going to set it down because I don't want to super glue it down. And I'm going to take the right hand side of the stove. I'm going to put a little bit of super glue right there. Basically, I'm putting it where the tabs will touch. Pop this in here like this. Not going to glue the top of the stove down. It should, I'm pretty sure it'll stay there pretty well. Let me see. Yeah, I can set that down now. So now I'm going to actually apply glue to this side. Kind of interesting. I think this side is metal, this side is plastic. Little bit of super glue. Just make sure. I almost put this in the wrong spot. It's fortunate. One of the fortunate things is the tabs are actually sized as well. So this one's going to go into the middle here. And then you've got this one, it's got 3 tabs on it. And the one with the 3 tabs, the tabs are going to be on the back, the bottom, and the front. So I'm just going to apply some glue to this tab here, only on the inside because I don't want to have the glue showing on the outside. And this is metal as well. That's also the reason, part of the reason I'm using super glue instead of the white glue. I'm not sure the white glue would hold the metal parts. This does not want to fit in there. Tell me I did not grab glue on the wrong, or put glue on the wrong edge. Should maybe that. Hang on, let's see. Looking at it, that should be the right tab. I will be back in a second. Let me go mess with this off screen. Okay, so I put glue on the wrong edge. This edge here is actually the front, or the wrong tab. This tab, the smaller tab that I was trying to put in the front, is the one that goes in the back. The glue has pretty much dried. It shouldn't be an issue. And there's a little bit of wiggle here that's going to go away as soon as I put the base on. One of the other things that I did not do yet is this shelf, which it has an indented side and a smooth side, just slides in here. Should slide in there, actually. Not sure how well it's going to. That's a little bit tighter than I want. Maybe the other side. Yeah, I'm not putting that in there right now. Might have to sand it down in a few minutes. So let me double check, let me look. stove base with the slot in the front. This glue is not catching on here, so we'll put some more here. Instead of trying to glue it right now, I'm going to put that on there. This slot goes to the front of the stove. So let me put the base on and make sure that the base goes on correctly. So the base is on, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to apply the glue to the bottom. And since that's the bottom and you won't see it, I can be a little bit liberal with the glue. That could have been dangerous. I think that was, well, yeah, that was my scalpel. Sorry if I got off screen. So that's the stove. Now let me see if this shelf will now fit in here. Doesn't look like it's going to want to, so let me do a little bit of work with it, maybe. Actually, there it is. It's a shelf, so it's not going to have to come out. The bottom is now glued on. So there's the stove. So that last part for this episode is to do the stepladder. Let me go ahead and get the parts cut apart, do a little bit of sanding on them, and then we'll put it together. Okay, good thing I just read one of the notes on here, because I was going to actually paint the stepladder, but it says the stepladder will be painted in issue 19. So let me get my glue stick here cleaned up. And there's a little bit of discoloration on this piece, so it's going to be on the inside. The discoloration is. Put a little glue in each of these holes. And that's the thing, is you can either glue the hole or you can glue the tab. I'm gluing the hole right now because it's quicker. And if you look, one side of the steps is not painted, so that's the side I'm going to put down. I'm going to do both of them real quick. Sorry it's out of focus. I need to zoom the camera in instead. Then put a little bit of glue on either side of the tab. The glue problem right now is the glue is has been out for a little bit. It's drying. So let me go ahead and put this on here. This might be a little bit tricky because trying to do both steps at the same time on this side. Not too bad. Remove the excess glue here. Matter of fact, let me just wipe it with the paper towel. And there's the stepladder so far. Apply a little bit of glue to the top here on both sides. Turn this piece over to where it is wood side up. Do my best to center it, which I'm actually going to push it down there, and then I'm going to use I'm picking it up to center it, getting it relatively close. Then it falls off, of course. Sorry, I'm being quiet while I concentrate. That looks pretty good. So there's the steps. Let me go ahead and switch cameras. So at this point we now have the steps, the stove, the one wall done. There's some other things that have been done in other issues, but that's where I'm leaving it for now. That is the end of pack 7, I think it was. Let me just yep, end of pack 7. And I hope you're enjoying this build as much as I am. So that's all for this time. Like, subscribe, like and subscribe. Come on over to Hobby Time Modelers and see what we're doing on Facebook and YouTube. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I will see you on the next video.